important, which joints and articulations and most important in your opinion? Flexibility is largely genetic. That's the first thing you guys got to keep in mind. There's a huge genetic component there, and some people just have it better than others, right? With that being said, you can improve on yours, right? And that is done by hardcore stretching, like stretching to the point of like pain, right? As far as making your joints more flexible, I wouldn't mess with those. I think you're just going to be hurting yourself. I don't believe you can make your joints more flexible. Your muscles, yeah, so you might get a little more range of motion on, like your hip movement, your arms and all that. But your joints have a limitation, right? You can't make your arm more flexible by getting arm barred all the time. So I would stay away from that. But as far as the stretching goes, the more the better. If you can really push that threshold and make it like a workout, like it's painful, I'm pretty confident you're, like I said, a lot of this is genetically determined. You're not going to be able to improve that much on something like that, okay? All right, where are we at there? Got it? All right, we're going to go live here on Instagram as well. Guys, feel free to fire away. Otherwise, I'm just going to show some moves here with Lando, and you guys can get to work on the moves. And we're going live on YouTube, Instagram as well. Okay, all right, there we are. Hello. All right, good stuff. All right, ready? What else, guys? So, guys, if you guys got any questions, feel free to ask anything you guys want to know, anything you guys are getting stuck in. Like it could be a question about psychology, preparation, a technique. I'm getting stuck in close guard, can't pass spider guard, can't get past de la riva. Anything you guys want to know. Leon, passa uma pergunta aí, Leon. Portuguese questions as well as English, okay? I will answer in English, however. We can't make the here bilingual, okay? Leon is asking me, how do I feel with this big face of mine? I feel great. It is a big face, I know, but I do feel really, really good about it, okay? The beard is making it bigger than ever, I know, but it's I'm going to let it grow until the quarantine is over. Let's see how far I make it, okay? And Leon, vai tomar no cu. All right. Questions, guys. Give me some jiu-jitsu questions here. Raymond, all right, can you show an escape from the head and arm? That is a very nasty question, Raymond. I hate that one. I will answer it, but I don't like it. I'll tell you why. Because you're in a locked submission. And anytime you're in a locked submission, chances of you getting out are very, very slim because a lot of times it depends on how well your opponent is going to attack you. If he knows what he's doing and you're in a locked submission, like a rear naked choke, your options are limited. You can tap or you can go to sleep. You might be able to get out. I'm going to show you the best escape I know, but don't be too confident about it. Like you're in a locked submission, it's going to fail more often than it works. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It means that most of your effort goes prior into being caught in the submission. That's the real important one. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys briefly here how to get out of a head and arm. Actually, I'm going to go down the other side because the escape is going to be on this side. I want to make sure they see. So I am caught, right? One thing that helps is if I can get my thumb on the inside of the elbow. Anytime I can get my thumb on the inside of the elbow, it buys me a little breathing room because it stops him from really adjusting. On top of that, I pinch my elbow down, which makes it a little bit harder for him to lean and bite my neck with his bicep and shoulder, right? So if you try to get tight there, Lando, it's very hard for him to get tight. So my thumb can be really annoying. As simple as this is, it's not an escape, but it's a great way of buying time. So if you got, let's say you're winning the fight and you got 10 seconds left on the clock, just getting your thumb in there and pulling your elbow back helps a lot. Now, to answer the question, the escape. So it's not going to be straight over my head and it's not going to be to the side. It's going to be on a 45-degree angle, but I'm going to kick both my legs and I'm going to roll over this shoulder. To help, I'm going to push the ground with my left hand. And it's going to be on a 45. Then I'm going to roll out. And from here, I might be even able to get to the back because, if I escape this correctly, I will be able, the blade to the back is going to be wide open. The hard part here is creating enough momentum to kick your feet back. That's easier said than done, because normally when you're flat, it's very difficult to create the momentum to roll over your shoulder. The harder you kick your legs, the more you push, the easier it is to roll. Once you get your feet up in the air, you're going to push off your shoulder blades as well. That will help. So I'll do it one more time. Same thing, Lando, on the other side. Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. No, you're on this side. I'm on this side. Yeah. So I'm caught. First thing is I get my thumb in there. The other thing I do is I turn on my side a little bit. It's a little harder for him to bite my neck if I'm sideways. So instead of being here flat on my back, I go this way. Okay? Pitch my elbow back. I'm going to push the ground with my left arm, and I'm kicking my legs over my shoulder. And I'm halfway to his back, possibly even with an arm attack here, which in itself is not a great submission because all he has to do is roll to get out of it. But if he rolls, look where I'm going to be. Roll. I'll be on top of him, right? I'll be in side control. So that is my favorite escape from head and arm. It's the only efficient one I've seen, really. I've seen a lot of escapes, and honestly, none of them work too well. That's the only one that I've seen work consistently over time. I have a friend of mine that could do it over and over and over. He get it like 10 out of 10. So kind of like an exception to the rule, really. But it was, it's an efficient way of escaping. The thumb, great way of buying time if you just want to survive the round, okay? Not an escape, but if you don't want to tap, you got a little time left, you're winning the fight, it's a great option. All right, next question. What's your favorite way to come up on a single from bottom half guard? Right? All right. That's a good question. Well, first of all, buddy, that's contingent on my opponent actually defending the single, right? Come over here. I mean, defending the half guard, right? So if I'm in on the half guard, I got to be coming up. Very important thing about coming up on the half guard. You guys focus so much on the underhook and grabbing the leg, and you forget about head position. When I open my eyes, I'm in that half guard. If I can't see the ceiling, I'm doing it wrong. I have to have my back straight when I'm coming up. A lot of you guys want to come up with your head down because you want to hide your neck. You don't hide your neck by putting your chin down. You expose your neck. This is how he gets a darce and a guillotine on you when you put your head down. If I have my head up, I'm far less likely to be caught in a guillotine, a darce. It's just a better posture, and it's going to be a lot easier for me to come up, all right? But when I do come up, let's say it's in the gi, because we're in the gi now. If you didn't have a gi, I'd just be grabbing like his leg right below his butt. But if he has a gi, I'm going to be holding on to his pants. As I come up on that half guard, I got to tweak that knee, coyote style. See that little bite right there? You can face square up with me, Lando. I'm going to grab that. I call it a butt grip. So my grip goes immediately below his butt cheek, okay? And it goes right here. This is the grip I'm looking for. If you can't get this low, you can also go here. Not the same. This is better, but it will do the job. And if it's no gi, I'm going to go right here. All of them are going to be correct, but all of them do the same thing. What do? They control his hips. That's why I don't like the underhook on the single, because this doesn't push him forward, right? This pushes him into the whizzer. I push down. He's pushing down with me on that whizzer. I'm trying to get him to go that way, right? So other than the knee tweak here, so it should feel like almost like a knee lock, right? Like an illegal knee bar, so to speak. I'm attacking the inside of the knee. He's not going to tap because all he's got to do is look away. But for someone who's trying to square up with you, this is great advice, all right? So here. So at this point, when Lando starts standing up, Lando, I'm going to follow through. It's very important that I don't let him lead the stand-up. A great guy to watch for this is Damian Maia. He does it better than anyone. But he's on you like glue. So you're standing up thinking, I'm going to create some space. He doesn't let you create that initial space. So I'm doing it without Lando. So if I'm here on that single, right, when my opponent begins to stand up, I'm coming up with him. I don't wait for him to stand up to try to follow. That's the key moment. You're going to not only slow him down, but make myself faster by pulling myself in. So I got to be tight here and with the head. So when he starts creating that little distance, I'm quick to follow. I don't let him create that first inch, because if he creates that first inch of space, he's already distancing himself, and now he's getting away. So I got to go 1, 2, tight. When he starts standing up, I'm quick. I can push off my hand, but I always lead with my head. Don't lead with your butt. That's one thing people do wrong. They lead with their butt, and then the head gets light, and that's when you start stuffing your head and getting rid of you. I got to come with my head up high. Oh, fast. Okay? If you ever done a Turkish get-up, think of a Turkish get-up when you're coming up with that single. Leading with the head, strong base underneath you. Focus on being tight on the leg. If you're grabbing the pants, that's fine too. I like to press my ear against my opponent's belly and chest because then I can feel him move. So instead of waiting for him to move and seeing him move, I feel him. So there's a connection between my head and his chest. So when he comes up, I come up very quickly, and then it's easy to follow. Make sure your feet are on the ground around the same time his feet are on the ground. If you get left behind, it's very hard to follow. And then normally they're kicking away, which is what normally happens. Yeah. All right. Kenny, from bottom half, can you demonstrate how you utilize your outside leg foot to drag opponent's trapped leg with that legal reap? Very nice. We're just talking about it, Kenny. I'm going to break it down a little further for you guys. I'm going to change the camera angle here. So this is basically what I'm trying to do. Go on your knees there. On your knees. Like just come a little bit closer so we can get on. Yeah, here we go. So what I'm trying to do is that right there. You see he's looking away. Landon, look at the camera. You can look at the camera, right? You can see you guys. But when I reap the knee, he's looking away. I'm turning his hips, and I'm forcing him to look away. Now, he's not looking away because he's being nice to me. He's looking away because he doesn't have a choice. He's going to look away. I'm going to hurt his knee. There are reaps in jiu-jitsu that are legal. Reaps are only illegal when you're trapped and you can't move. His case, right? When you can move, they are legal. So De La Riva is a knee reap, but he can move by giving me the back. So it's legal. Same thing here. All he's got to do is look away, and and I can use it. Except that I'm not going to use my hands. I'm going to use my leg. So very important thing is when I latch onto his foot here, fix it so you guys can see. When I latch onto the foot, I try to get this bite right here. It's not just having my foot here. I have to pull and get my calf underneath it, right? When you press your foot really hard against the ground, that's what normally happens. If I'm in here, I kind of kick my heel, and then you feel that. So when I kick my heel in front of his shin, that lifts his shin off the ground. Like I'm doing this right here, right there, and then I connect. Once I get that connection, he's already looking away. Once again, he's not looking away to be nice. He's not pretending. There's pressure on his knee. If I start doing that right there, look, he starts moving. All right. Now, how do I get so tight on the knee? By driving my hip into the outside of his leg. So my hip bone here, my pelvic bone, is going to go more or less right here where the patch is. That's where the pressure goes. So I'm doing that right there. It's a lever like any other lever. Think of an arm bar almost, right? This is the hand and this is the hip. I'm doing that right there. You create a lever by pushing one in and pulling the other one, right? Same idea here, but I'm not using my hands. I'm using my left leg and my hip. That's the only difference. What this does, it makes it very difficult for him to square up with me. He's going to try to square up with me. But the reason I end up halfway on the back or a lot of times with a sweep is because he starts putting himself out of position. And when he's out of position, that's my cue. Now I capitalize on that by either coming up or getting to the back, right? Or sweeping. I have different options from there. But everything comes from what? From putting him out of position. A lot of people focus on the next, right? They focus on plan B and C, and they don't even have A down, right? You got to get A out of the way first. You got to make sure that your opponent is out of position. That leg right there. You're not doing it right unless he feels a little bit of pain on the inside of the knee, okay? It's very important. That's why communication with your partner is very important. Ask him, is it hurting? Okay? Do you feel a little pain? The communication helps me better understand the move. So I know that I'm doing right. So like be communicative with your training partner. That helps a lot because a lot of times you think you're doing it right and you're doing it wrong. Sometimes you think you're doing it wrong, you're doing it right. The communication will help, okay? So I'm going to show it one more time. When I sit up here, I drag my heel on the ground. I'm trying to change the angle here. If you can keep it close, look, I drag my heel on the ground until his leg pops up where? On top of my calf, all right? The underhook's got to be tight. I like the hip or the leg. I don't like the lower back unless you're just trying to get into a dog fight. If you want to get into a dog fight, the lower back is a great option. But if you're trying to come up, this and this will be better, okay? Hip control. I keep my ear pressed against his chest. All right, and I'm coming up, and I'm thinking about pushing him over with my head. I'm not gonna, but I'm trying. I need that pressure there. All right. Notice that I'm also pulling my neck back. My neck's got to be in position. Once I get this position, my opponent, the half guard is easy. All right, but it all starts with a knee tweak. Even going back, even before I get to the half guard, if I am flat on my back, all right, I'm always doing this right here. So when I tweak the knee, it makes it easier for me to get the underhook. So a lot of people think that they have to get the underhook before they knee tweak. I disagree. I think you can knee tweak and then get the underhook, right? Because when I tweak that knee, look what happens to him, right? It's all mechanics. If I pull that knee out, what did I just do? I'm opening room for the underhook because that's harder for him to square up with me. He doesn't want to pummel from there. It's hard. That's why they normally end up with the whizzer. So it's hard to put like a sequence of events, right? But I definitely wouldn't try to underhook before I tweak the knee. I would try to, I'd be either doing them at the same time, but if I really had to choose like a hierarchy, it would start with tweaking the knee before you go for the underhook, because the underhook is going to come in a lot easier if you're pulling his knee out. Okay, that's a habit you have to develop, of pulling that knee out all the time if you're a half guard player. Half guard is the one guard everyone needs to know. I don't care how tall, how skinny you are, how short, how old, how young. I don't care. If my open guard is so good, you still need a half guard, because half guard is the guard that works for recovery. It's not just for offense. It's also really good defense. Spider guard is defense only if you're just holding the guy. But how many times have you been in side control or mount and you use a half guard to recover? All the time, right? So it's very defensive, and you go from defending to attacking very quickly. The other important thing about half guard, it's a guard that everyone can play. You cannot have a good open guard for triangles and arm bars if you have like big, thick legs. It's hard. If your hips are heavy, it's hard to get triangles. It's hard to play open guard in De La Riva. A half guard, it doesn't matter your build. It also doesn't matter your age. All right. As I get older, I can feel it. Like my mobility is not there. The speed, I get heavier. Open guard is getting harder. Like half guard is starting to make a lot more sense to me tactically. So it's a guard that you can use throughout your whole life, and regardless of how much you weigh. Okay? Even skill level, it works from white to black. So, I'm not going to say it's the most important guard, because I wouldn't really frame it like that. But I think that half guard is something that everyone should learn. Even if not, it's not your A game, it's not your favorite guard, everyone should have a good one. All right. Next one. All right. Are you still opening the Henderson location? Possibly. We don't know yet. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Perfect Timing over here signed a lease a week before the lockdown. But it's okay. I'm not a quitter, and we're going to make it work somehow. But it's just a little crazy right now for all businesses, especially if you're small. If you're McDonald's and Starbucks, you're fine. Government takes care of you. But if you're a small business owner like me, it's like, nah, you don't get that sort of welfare. But we're hanging in there. We're being optimistic, and regardless, if I don't open a gym in Henderson now, it's going to be later down the road. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Okay. All right. Is it normal to plateau while training jiu-jitsu? From Chicken Allen. Yes, but the plateau is actually part of the learning curve. What a plateau is, it means you met your match in the arms race. I call jiu-jitsu progress an arms race. So, I do this to beat his guard. He does this to sweep me, and then I have to do that to beat his sweep, and then he does this to beat my pass, and we're escalating. So a lot of times when you think you're plateauing, really, you found your match. That's all that's happened. You found someone that is as good as you at that particular confrontation. So don't look at it as something negative, because a lot of times we're measuring our progress by how much we win in the gym. And that's one way of measuring progress, but it's not the only way of measuring progress. You ought to measure progress also by how much difficulty you encounter in the gym, right? So just because someone's beating you doesn't mean you're not making progress. If they're beating you, you might be getting better. You just don't notice it because you're not beating the person they're beating you. But you are making progress. You're defending better, right? You're becoming aware of other aspects of the game that you were not aware of before. Next thing you know, you get better at defending, guillotines when you sucked at defending guillotines before. So don't feel negative about the plateau. It's part of learning. But the answer to that is just, you got to push through it. If someone's beating you at a certain game, it just means that you haven't figured out a way to defeat that game. Don't be negative about it. Don't be thinking that it can't be done and that, you can always try new things too. That's also correct. But the correct answer for every problem is challenge yourself. That's the correct answer for every possible problem in jiu-jitsu. Constantly challenging yourself. All right. What are good submissions for someone with short arms, legs? Very good. A guillotine. You got short, stubby arms, big legs. There's some submissions going to be hard for you. But for short arms, a lot of times it helps. Helps with the guillotine. Why? The noose is smaller. The shorter your arms, the smaller the noose, like the tighter the bite on the neck. So that's one. North-south, same thing, right? If you have the smaller the noose, the tighter the north-south is going to be. Same thing with the head and arms. If your arms are too long in the head and arms, it's actually a problem, right? Unless you're, grappling a giant, sometimes it creates more space because your arms are longer. Other submissions are very difficult if you have short arms. Darce, for example, Darce and Anaconda. Don't count on it. Your arms are short. Now, there are variations to the Darce. There are ways you can finish, I call it the box. Some people call it the Japanese necktie. There are ways of finishing a Darce without having long arms. but they're normally not as tight as the actual darce itself. That's always the best way to finish someone, in terms of darce goes. Let me see, what else? I got a cam girl asking me questions here. I'll skip that one. You guys don't want to know what she's asking. Spam. Sorry, guys. All right. Let's see. All right, let's get some more questions here. You underhook below the hip. Do I underhook below the hip? I think Eric here is talking about the half guard. I don't. Here's the thing. Once again, I'm just going to explain again, make sure I'm not confused. I know a lot of people teach grabbing the belt. The reason I don't like the belt is because it moves. Look at that. I think the belt is the worst grip. I do like the lapel. I use this a lot. I'll feed that lapel to this hand on that half guard. This I love because it pulls him towards me. Even though I don't have hip control, I make it difficult for him to square up with me because I'm pulling on the opposite lapel. So the lapel I 100% like. But let's say he has no gi on and I don't have the lapel. I'm either going to be on the leg if it's no-gi, right? Or I'm going to be on the butt. I call it the butt grip. Like, this is the grip I want because I have absolute control of his hips. If you can't get to that, you're going to grab the rope here on the pants. That's the grip you want. It's not quite the same as the butt grip, but a lot of times, depending on the size of your opponent, you get someone with, like, big legs, big butt. The pants are super tight. You can't get your hand in there, right? It's this grip right here, like right below the butt cheek, right? This is what I'm looking for. If they got really tight pants, sometimes you can't. You're trying to get your hand in and you can't get it. So in that case, what I do is I just go for the rope on the pants, or like sometimes even in a gi, I use that arm below the leg, like a single. I do that as well. That's a great option. All right. Someone wants to know more about the cam girl. Stop asking. Leave the cam girl alone. All right. When I put one leg back to establish good base and avoid getting swept, when opening my opponent's closed guard from stand, I get omoplata. How do I avoid this? Okay, so the omoplata is happening because your knees are going in, right? If your knees are out, a lot of times you expose yourself for other sweeps. If your knee goes in, you block some sweeps, but you start giving yourself the omoplata. So I would be more worried about not just your posture, obviously, but also about your leg position, right? So where your feet are positioned when you're standing up is very, very important. I suspect you're turning, right? And that's why you put yourself in omoplata. I'll show what's going on here. So close guard. All right. All right. If I'm in here and I'm going to stand up, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on teaching you guys how to stand up. You guys don't know how to do this. We're going to focus on the part that's really relevant right now, right? So keep your guard closed. So if my knee opens this way, right, what happens is I make myself vulnerable to getting swept with that waiter sweep. You know what I'm talking about, Orlando? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do it on this side, though. Yes, and yes, right there. So everyone knows that sweep. Boom, he puts me on my hip. It happens because my knee is open. A lot of people defend that sweep. They turn their knee in, right? And then he can't go for that waiter sweep because my knee is in, but I make myself vulnerable to the omoplata. So depending on where your opponent's attack is coming from, I would stay more of a square stance, and I would modify my foot according to what he's doing. I suspect this right here is happening, and that's why you're getting omoplata. All right, because you're putting yourself in position omoplata. So you want to find a balance between not going knee in too much or not going knee out too much. Try to stay square. It is a little bit easier when you start like going on your side to open close guard, which is why you might be turning sideways because it does make it easier. But make sure your head is not only high, but your hand is anchored right around here in your opponent's pants. Hands up here on the collar, your arms exposed to the omoplata. If you're pressing on the hip, when I push the knee, your arm is straight and you can't fall forward to get omoplata. So your posture is going to be a little bit stronger if you can just push the hips down and then you push the knee, okay? So those two things, focus on the free arm, the one that's posted, and focus on your knee position. Try to keep your knee square as much as possible to avoid the omoplata, okay? When playing lasso with somebody who is strong and content on sitting back and not engaging, how can you force them to engage? Man, that's got to be one of the worst questions ever, Kenny. I don't have great answers, man. I really don't. I wish I could tell you guys there's a great way of forcing someone to try to pass your guard. And you got to remember what guard was originally created as a defensive move, right? Now, of course, we have turned it into an offensive one. Like we attack from guard. But in its original creation is, well, you got taken down. You're on bottom. Clearly, you're losing. Well, we got to learn how to fight. But someone who, even though they're on top, they're not trying to engage. Like, how do you force them to engage? My answer is I normally open. If I can't, like, I open and I just try to switch gears and really try to, like, loosen up the game, see if they attack more. Because it's hard to attack someone who doesn't want to lose. They just want to survive, right? They got that, fighting for the draw mentality. And I hate it. In tournaments, I don't like it. In the gym, it makes no sense to me. Like, I hate it. Like, I avoid training partners that are like that. I don't even want to train with them because I feel like I'm wasting my time. And they're wasting theirs, too. They just don't know it. But to answer your question, what can I do on the lasso? I got one move here from the lasso that I use a lot. Come here. This is one of my favorite transitions from the lasso. I played lasso, like throughout my blue, purple belt, years. That's all I played was lasso. And then I stopped for a long time, butterfly, and just because I wanted to do more nogi. But I only figured this out as a black belt, but I use it fairly well, and I'm going to show you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cup his tricep here. So I'm going to reach across. I have the lasso. I'm going to cup the tricep, and I'm going to let go of the lasso. I'm going to cup the elbow. Okay? At this point, he may want to say, oh, I'm going to pull my arm out. But when I kick, I have the elbow. So his arm is going to go back, but his elbow drops forward, and it's very, very tight. And I transition to an omoplata. So go back. Go on your knees. It's easier for them to see this. I'm just trying to make some more. Just turn this way so they can see too. So when I'm in here, right, I'm going to go 1, 2 on the elbow, right? And I'm cupping both arms. And when I kick, I'm very tight. I don't do that with my elbow because he'll pummel his arm on the inside. Bring your arm on the inside there. No. Yes. And then I don't have the omoplata anymore. I have to block his hand with my elbow. So if he tries to do that, my elbow's blocking. So my left elbow's got to be tight. I kick, and then I transition the omoplata. A little caveat on the omoplata. Never put your hips on the ground. Keep your weight on his head. I keep my weight off the ground. So my butt comes off the ground. That means my legs are heavy. Now, this in itself won't finish Lando. It's not going to force him to get swept or anything, but it makes it hard for him to posture by just raising my hips off the ground. That's going to help a lot, okay? That is one option. I got another one that you can use here. A lot of times you can do the arm drag instead of going over. You can go under as well, and it's the same idea, okay? This my transition is going to be a little bit different. Create like a slingshot. When I open up my leg, I keep his arm trapped. Now all he wants to do is posture and limp arm that arm. He wants to posture and clear that. Yes, that's what he wants to do. And then I'm able to come up. So I turn my lasso into an arm drag. You can do this nogi too. You can't control the arm in the lasso nogi, but if they're leaning heavy on the lasso, you can turn it into an arm drag. Okay. I hope you guys got it. I know it's difficult to explain these things on the over the internet, but I will be uploading this video later to our YouTube channel, and then you guys can watch it over and over and over as many times as you want. Pause, rewind, watch it again. But this one I use a lot. I just regret only figuring it out as a black belt. I wish I had figured it out sooner. Okay. How do you escape scarf hold? I call it the childhood headlock. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't teach it, but it does work. I'll show you guys. Especially like good wrestlers or good judokas, they'll hold you there for life, man. You can't get out. Because they're not really trying to move forward. They're just trying to hold you there. It's a pin. They win. I'm not a huge fan of it because of the risk-reward factor, right? In judo and wrestling, someone gets your back. It's not the end of the world. In jiu-jitsu, someone gets your back. It's a bit of a problem. Or in a fight, for that matter, right? So the risk element in judo and wrestling are very different than the one in jiu-jitsu and MMA. So that's why I don't even teach it, but it does work. It's just risky. So, yeah, so when he goes from my head, one important thing is I have to anticipate him, and I got to be on my side as much as possible. I'm flat on my back now to talk to you guys, but I do want to be on my side. And then this arm right here has to hit the ground. If this arm is off the ground, my situation is a lot worse. This, yes, he moves his hip underneath my arm, and now it's really hard to move. Go back. I have to try to get my elbow on the ground in front of his hip. Okay? If I can anchor my hand, it's going to be harder for him to pull my arm up. So I'm just going to turn here 180 so you guys can see what I'm doing here. You guys see that? I lock my elbow on the ground and my hand on his hip. What this does, it makes it hard for him to improve the position. Now my left hand, my free hand, is going to go for that butt grip we were talking about. I'll go as low as I can. If I can't go low, I'll go for the rope. But if I can really extend my arm and try to grab below his butt, even better. When this right here happens, he doesn't like this because he feels I have control over his hip now. You see that? Like I have some hip control here. And I'm going to be walking underneath him as I raise him with not only my right hand and my right elbow, but my left hand as well. and all I'm trying to do is move my right knee underneath his butt. I can give it a little bump here, so I can give it a little bridge off my left leg, and then I move my right leg underneath. And then onward, I'm just shrimping. Easier said than done. A lot of times when they defend that, what happens is they open up the back. They start defending by leaning away from me. So they're not putting their weight on top of me anymore because they feel they're going to get turned over that way. So when they start leaning away from me, that's when I use that against them. I get on top, and I end up on their back. I'll show you guys really quick. So I'm on this side now so you guys can see. But my hand position on the other side is identical. All right? So if I'm in here, and I'm trying to get this way, and Lando reacts by trying to move, try to like wink yourself. Yes. Or, yeah. He pulls me on top of him. The reason I'm able to control him is because I have these two hip grips. I get the one in front of his hip flexor and the one behind of his butt. So when he moves away, he tries to recover or just like stops me from rolling him over. He's just really holding me on top. I'll do it one more time. Left the scarf hold, lock my elbow. So I'm trying to pull myself underneath him. He's either going to go, oh, exactly. Like you guys can't feel Orlando's weight, but he moved all his weight to his left leg. So am I going to go underneath him? If he moves away, I'm going to come out the back door. But look, I'm not doing that to Lando because I'm strong, because I have his hips under control, right? Thank you. Okay, it's the center of gravity. If you want to carry something really heavy, you don't grab it by the end. Imagine you got to carry, like something, like you got to carry like a bar, like something we bench press with. You don't carry it at the end, do you? Where do you carry it? In the middle. That's where it's lightest. It's just mechanics. When I want to control my opponent, you don't try to move them by pulling the shoulders or the feet. The best way to control them, control their weight, is what? Controlling the center, the hips. Exactly. Okay? Same idea when I'm trying to get out of that scarf hold. Guys, simple as that is, that's gold. Trust me. Like I don't get caught in scarf holds very often. But like the times I do get caught, I do that. I get out pretty much every time. I'm not a huge fan of the scarf hold, to be honest, but it does work. I've seen it work. All right. Okay. Any tips to avoid traps whenever a person baits you to a move? Just getting caught. It's a vaccine. You need a vaccine to help deal with the problem, right? And the vaccine is getting caught a few times. Getting caught is not a bad thing. Not learning the lesson from getting caught is a bad thing. Understand the difference. You want to throw yourself in a fire. In a fight, you go against someone with really good footlocks. You want to stay away because you want to win, right? You win a world title. You got to make sure you don't get footlocked by that guy that's an expert. In the gym, you're going against a guy that's good at footlocks. Put yourself in the footlock. Play his game. Why? Because that's how you're going to learn. You're going to get caught 100 times, and then after that, you're going to be like, I'm fine. You go to a tournament, a guy that's a leg lock expert, you're going to be more comfortable, right? So you learn by throwing yourself in the fire. That's a very easy paid lip service to. Easier said than done, right? Being disciplined, easier said than done. Train hard, they work hard for your dreams. Everyone talks about, are people willing to pay the price? And the price to getting good at jiu-jitsu is getting your ass kicked on the mats every day, right? Tough love is real love. It's the only way. You got to make it hard on yourself. And if there ever is a time where you're not getting challenged at a particular position, you just got to change and go somewhere else. Like, where am I getting challenged here? Okay, I can't take this guy down in judo or in wrestling. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to beat him at his own game, which is what drives me nuts about people that want to do this right here. They want to lose. They're missing out on an opportunity to challenge themselves. If there's someone that can beat you at something, you want to throw yourself in that position in order to learn, right? Because practice is not for winning. Practice is for improving. Tournaments are for winning. You have to understand the difference. It doesn't mean I'm trying to lose when I train. It's just that when I'm training, when I'm practicing with my teammates, I am more willing to expose myself to new situations because I want to learn those lessons, okay? Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. I mostly pick up questions from YouTube, guys. I'm sorry. But we're going to be live tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, same thing. Q&A, ask me anything really. It could be technique, psychological, weight cut, strategy, rules, anything I can help you guys with. It's a really open and dynamic Q&A. As you guys can see, I try to cover as much as possible. But we will be back tomorrow, 5:30, 5 p.m.